Welcome back everyone. Today we will be working on login. So let's get started. We will now start from the view.py file. So, for user authentication we will use the Django authentication library. So to use the authentication library, first we need to import the library, so type from django.contib.auth. Then we need to add authenticate class. So, type import authenticate. Then, we need the login class. This is the default login class of the Django framework. We will also import the logout class in the same way. Now we need to do something to handle the messages. Because after logging in, we want the user to see a success message, or even if the login credentials are incorrect, we need to show a message. Right? So for that we will import another library. So type from django.contib. Then, type import messages. This messages class will actually handle all kinds of success messages or alert messages. Let's run the project a little and share some important things. I think you're probably already having some confusion or questions. So let's run the project first. To do that we already know how to run the project. If you don't remember, type python manage.py then type run server. Once the project is running, let's first go into the admin panel. Then log into the admin panel. Here we have already created a super user. So now we will not work with the user registration feature. So, we will develop the login logout feature using this super user. We will see user registration later. And the important thing I want to share with you that is, if you want, you can use a custom user table as per your requirement, where you can manage users' data as per your need. For that, you need to update something in the settings.py file which I will show you in one of the next tutorial sections or at the end of the tutorial series. So we already know that in Django project development, to add a new page, we have to work in the views.py and urls.py files. So let's first create functions for login and logout. Type diff login view then pass the request parameter. And in the same way, we also create the logout view function. And then just type pass. Here we will implement the logic later. If we had defined this function as login or logout, those would have conflicted with the Django login logout package that we are already importing above. But if we had used a custom method instead of the login class of Django.contribution package, then there would have been no problem in creating a function called login. Here you see I am passing the request parameter. You will see its use a lot throughout the Django project. In simple terms, it is actually used as a request handler which is sent from the front end. This views.py file is actually used as a controller for that request. Now let's define two paths for these two functions in the urls.py file. So let's copy it and then paste it twice. I will define one of these as the path for login and the last one for logout. So first type login / inside the quotes, then write views.loginView which we have just defined as a function in the views.py file. And finally we need to give it a name, so name equals login. Now we do the same for logout. The only difference is that we have to write it as logout because we have created a function for it in the views.py file. Now let's go to the views.py file where we will work with our login form. Although we have defined this login view function, we will mainly use it if we create a separate login page. For now, we will keep the login form on the home page. For now, we will block and deactivate this code base of this login view function. We will work on login authentication in the home function. So now let's go to the home.html page and start working on the login form here. So, define a div tag inside the block content tag and write class equals call md5 followed by offset md5. Then, close the div tag just before the end block tag. Let's check if everything is okay or not. So let's refresh the web browser. Oh, sorry. We made a small mistake. Let's fix it. Let's go to the urls.py file. Look, here we have defined a path for login, but it is not needed for now because we manage login form on the home page. So let's keep the two URLs login and logout inactive. Let me check again now. Nice, now it's fine. You can see that the text is almost centered. Let's go to the home page to design the login form. Change the text inside the h tag to login. Now write the form tag and use post as the method. because we will have to send the data we input from the front end to the back end. In this case, by data we mean our username and password. Because with this data we will check the user's authentication. And define the type action equals URL and home inside the quotation marks. Because we will manage your login form from home. One thing we need to remember is that if we want to ensure the security of any form in a Django application, we must use Django's CSRF token tag. Because it will help protect the Django application from various types of unethical activities such as hacking. Now, let's design the login form. In this case, we will again take the help of Bootstrap. So, let's take a look at the Bootstrap documentation. Then, go to the Quick Start menu in the Forms section. In this case, I'll use this code base. So let's copy this code base. Now, let's paste the code we copied after the CSRF token tag. Let's check if our form is working. Perfect. It's working fine. Now let's update the form as per our needs. We'll keep this form as simple as possible. So, first let's remove the Check Me Out option, we don't really need it right now. Remove the label option. Now, change the input type to text. We don't need the ID properties. Let's replace them with name equals username. This div is not needed. Let's remove it. Now we don't need this label for our password field either. So let's remove it. At this time, we don't need an ID for the password field like the username field. So delete it. And add the name property. So type name equals password. It is better to add a placeholder to the username field. So type placeholder equals username. And similarly we do the same for the password field. So type placeholder equals password. Let's refresh the browser and check how it's going so far. Our login form is complete. Nice. Notice that the username field exists as a text field and the password field exists as a password type. I think it would look better if this submit button was moved down a little. So let's add the BR tag and move the submit button down a little. Let's refresh the browser and check again. Yes, it seems to be right. Actually, we can continue with the design even if we don't give it much time. Just add required property for both username and password fields. Actually, username and password fields should be required. Because users should know which fields the user has not entered. Refresh the browser and check if the fields are working properly or not. Let's leave the fields blank and click the submit button. Look, I see an alert. Now just leave the password field blank and click the submit button again. Yes, here alert has been shown as per our need. So our login form design is complete. Now our next target is to check whether the user is logged in or not. So, to check this, let's define a Django tag after the div tag and inside it write if space user dot is underline authenticated. So if the user is logged in, then we will show some text. In this case I want to show welcome Tanvir. So, I am writing welcome Tanvir inside the h1 tag. Now we need an else statement. So to do that, type else inside the Django tag. Now the summary is like this. If the user is already logged in, then the home page will show welcome Tanvir. And if not, which means else, then the login form will be shown. And most important part is, you have to remember to close the if statement. This is a very common mistake. I often make this mistake. After the vid close tag, write end if inside the Django tag. It is basically the closing of this if tag. Let's check our login authentication. You must remember that we created a super admin user. So we will check the login feature with that user. We have written the if statement on the home page where we have defined the logic that if the user is logged in then the text welcome Tanvir will be shown on the home page. And if the user is not logged in then the login form will be shown. Here we see the login form showing, which means we can assume that our initial logic is working. So now let's check our Django admin panel, and hopefully the login Django admin login page will be showing there too. Yes. We are seeing the login form here too. Great. Let's log in now and then go to our home page and check if the welcome Tanvir text is showing or not. Wow. We are showing welcome Tanvir text on our home page. Great. Our initial login logic implementation has been successful. Now if we want to access the admin panel, we will see that we have entered the admin panel, because Django knows that we are already logged in. And we will log out from the admin panel and then go back to the home page and check whether our login form is showing on the home page or not. Wow, look, the login form is now showing on the home page. Because according to logic, the login form is supposed to be shown on the home page. Right? Now we will implement the login feature on the home page. So to do that, let's go to the view.py file and implement some logic in the home function. First things first, so we will first check if the user is already logged in or not. To do that we need an if statement, type if request.method equals post. Now, assign the username value from the login form to the username variable. Now, like the username variable, we will also declare a variable for the password. If you look here, you will see that the value of username in this post array is actually referring to the username that we defined in the name property in our login form. The same thing has been done for passwords. Now we will declare an object named user to authenticate the user. If you notice here, I have already imported the Django Authenticate class above. Now, we will pass the username and password with the request parameters in this user object. I believe you must have understood here where I got the username and password values from. It's very easy to understand. Right? Now I will add an if statement here where I will log in the user using the Django login class and show a success message saying you are now logged in. Then I will redirect to the home page. So to do that, I am checking the user data from the user object, and if the user is not already set, then send a request to the Django login class with this user data and set this user data. Note that here I have imported the Django login class earlier above. Now we will give a success message if the user is successfully logged in. After successful login, we will redirect the user to the home page. So to redirect we need to import the redirect class, so let's import the redirect class by adding a comma after render on the very top line. Now in the return statement, write return redirect and then inside the brackets, give our home page inside the quotation marks. Now we need an else statement, because if the login is not successful, we have to keep the user in the login form again. And the user should also see an alert message. Right? So, I added an alert message with a text saying invalid username and password. Then redirect to the home page. So far we have checked the login through the username and password of the user and also checked whether the user is already logged in, which was included in the if statement. Now we also need an else statement. If the user is not logged in, then we have to see the login form on this home page. Right? So to do this, just write the else statement, then press tab to move the return render line a little. That's it. Now let's check, refresh the browser and see. Let's give it a wrong username and see if it shows our alert message or not. Oops, there's a message to show here. There was supposed to be an alert message here. Right? Why didn't you show this? Let's investigate this issue. Let's go to the base.html page. Here we use a Django tag inside the div container and first check if there are any messages with an if statement. Don't forget to close the if statement. This is actually a common problem for me. I don't know if this happens to you. So anyway, if we want to show an alert message, we need to show the message using a for loop statement. Again, to close the for loop statement, type end for and close it. And inside this for loop, pass the message through the Django tag. Now let's check if we are getting alert messages or not. It should work now. Hopefully it works perfectly. Let's see. Just refresh the browser first. Great, look, the alert message is showing. Let's try using this login form and see if we can log in or not. Great. We are logged in now. Look, our message is showing. The admin panel should also be in the logged in state. Yes, this is also working perfectly. Let's log out now from here and go to the home page to see what is showing now. Wow, nice. Look, now the login form is showing on our home page according to our logic. Great. So let's check random now. First, let's check with a wrong username and click Submit button. See the alert message that appears. Okay. Perfect. Now let's try to give our alert message a little more of a professional look. Again, we'll use Bootstrap to help us with this. From the Bootstrap doc link, click on the alert menu inside the component. I want to use this component. So let's copy this code base. And let's replace this message tag and paste it here. Let's delete this entire line that says holy guacamole and replace it with the message tag. Now let's look at our output. First refresh the browser and then try logging in with a wrong username. Look at the alert message. It looks pretty good now, right? Now let's try with the correct username and password. Great. See, the login success message is also showing. We have successfully accomplished our goal. In our next tutorial, we will work on the logout functionality. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe to the channel. And get real-life tutorial projects on machine learning, AI, data analysis, and data engineering. See you in the next tutorial.